I call the Honourable Member Catherine Delahunty.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. I'm pleased to take a call on Part 4 and also to take the opportunity to apologise for the slight confusion on Part 3. But the Part 4 and Part 3 are linked, and I do want to acknowledge the Minister because we have had a very useful conversation about the importance of the way in which this bill deals with issues of significance to tangata whenua, and hence Section 66 relating to waihi tapu, waihi tupuna or waihi tapu areas is linked to the negotiation that we had, therefore I should have withdrawn my SOPs, which has strengthened the ability for Māori to have a very good relationship with archaeologists around cultural sites, because of course cultural sites aren't just a matter of archaeological sites. It relates to Section 66 and relates to waihi tupuna, waihi tapu. It's very interesting to have conversations with archaeologists and people who are not familiar with Māori culture about the difference between an archaeological site and a waihi tapu. You know, archaeological sites are evidence, they're based on the physical evidence found within the land, and the waihi tapu are based on a cultural and spiritual landscape as much as a physical one. And so in order for citizens, particularly archaeologists, who don't come from that background, really need to understand what's in Section 66. And that's why I'm grateful to the Minister for the strengthening of Clause 42 in the previous part, because it's made much more explicit the cultural competencies and access to appropriate cultural relationships and support that an archaeologist needs in dealing with archaeological sites. And yes, we're here talking about waihi tapu, but often these things are in the same zone. So I'd like to commend the Minister for the work on this. I think there's a lot of good in this bill, and there's a lot of detail which is actually important to a more sophisticated understanding of the differences between heritage and waihi tapu, between archaeology and waihi tapu. Heritage might be a broad term, but beneath that, we need this bill to spell out some of these things. So I just want to acknowledge the good work done to make the bill more workable, and also to acknowledge the previous speaker, Marion Street, for talking about the landscape in which we are all living and working, that this is an issue of importance to all New Zealanders. You know, that is the critical thing about heritage, that is that the more we can all understand how waihi tapu, for example, function in the landscape and from the point of view of tangata whenua, we can deal with some of our issues more culturally appropriately. I've been involved with many situations where coastal land, for example, was proposed for development or sale, and then the private developer is shocked to find that there is a waihi tapu, or tangata whenua being in a weak position to advocate because it hasn't been clearly recorded. And I think that's where the fact that any person may apply to council to enter a waihi tupuna, waihi tapu or waihi tapu area should actually assist us so that we have a more of a no surprises understanding, because every part of Aotearoa is a cultural landscape and important to all cultures here, but particularly to First Nation, to the First People. And so it's really important that the clear recording and the scope, which is offered in Section 66, assists us in avoiding cultural misunderstandings, avoiding conflict over people's expectations. Because if people know from day one that coastal land contains waihi tapu, they're not going to have unrealistic expectations of what they can do on that land. So, you know, given the fact that many waihi tapu are there's not much land left belonging to Māori where the sites are neatly positioned. They are all over the motu in all kinds of different places, all kinds of different levels of meaning and significance to different mana whenua, and this bill allows them to be registered and to be clear. And so I'm hoping that councils will demonstrate an understanding of, for example, in 66.3 they may decline an application if it considers the case of a case of a waihi tapu that it lacks sufficient merit, having regard to the criteria. And I do hope that councils will robustly read those criteria and follow the meaning and the intent that's in this Act to make sure that the judgments are made in the right place. And that's why I've been a strong advocate in this bill for making sure that the voice of mana whenua hapu are heard, because it's impossible for anyone else to be experts on on another person's culture. No. It's simply not possible for us to be those experts. So it's always about the negotiation and the relationship. Having lived with an archaeologist for nearly 20 years, I know that archaeologists are not experts on Māori culture. Archaeologists are not experts on waihi tapu. They are experts on archaeology, which is the physical evidence, not the cultural and physical and spiritual evidence that, or relationships which are upheld. So I commend this aspect of the bill to the House. I mean, there's always more that I would like to do, but I think we've made some good progress.
Sir William Seo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll take a call on this particular bill and just